Japanese fasting technique. The safest way to break your fast. That's something I'm going to talk about today, so stick around. Hi, my name is Hachiaki Takamiya, a 63-year-old biohacker based on Japanese natural health and the author of Live Wiser, Not Smarter. Elon Musk once said at an interview with Joe Rogan that he started having steak and eggs for breakfast without the bread. I suppose high protein and low carb thing, which is very popular at the moment. But this is something that I wouldn't recommend. I would not personally have this for breakfast. I'm not against steak and eggs. I would probably have it for lunch, but not for breakfast. No, not at this timing. Yes, timing is everything because you're ruining everything you have just done overnight. So during the night, you go through a kind of fasting state. Even though it is for 12 hours, still it is a fast. And having this for breakfast ruins everything you have just done. So how you break your fast is critical. Especially for people over 50, there are safe and unsafe ways to break your fast. Now, a lot of people talk about how long you should fast, whether you should fast for 16 hours, 17 hours, or 24 hours. And not many people talk about what you do around your fast. But it is important. You know the Japanese centuries in Kyotango or the centuries in Okinawa, they don't practice so-called intermittent fasting. They fast somewhere around 12 hours, not very long, but the things they do around their fast are different. So when you finish your last meal, what that last meal is, what your first meal is, when you have the first meal, whether you move your body before the first meal, all those factors contribute to your fasting quality. So the quality of your fast is as important as the length of your fast. What is important isn't just how long you fast, but what you do around your fast. So today, I'll share with you the Japanese fasting technique that centers around things you do around your fast. And today, I'll focus on how to break your fast. Because someone asked me this question, could you please recommend the proper way to break the fast? So I'm responding to this question in today's video. So first, I'll share with you goals of fasting, and gut reset is one of the goals. So the mechanism of gut reset, why gut reset is critical for 50s plus, evening routine for the optimal gut reset, whether to exercise in the morning before breakfast, what to drink before your breakfast, what to eat for breakfast to optimize gut reset, Japanese breakfast that optimizes your gut reset, and finally, the Western version of gut resetting breakfast. So please watch the video until the end. For those of you who just discovered this video today, this is the Ikigai diet channel, which is about how to increase health span for people over 50 or 60. I am the author of 4 books. I usually cover things like diet, exercise, mindset, and anything else that is related to increasing health span. So if you're over 50 or 60 and interested in health span extension, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you. Okay, goals of fasting. Today, I'm talking about goals for longevity to increase your health span. So one is to activate autophagy, which is a cellular recycling mechanism. And the other is to give a break to the gut. Now, the microbial changes undergo significantly during a fasted state. So I have spoken about these microbial changes before. So in your gut, there are different kinds of bacteria. There are beneficial bacteria, harmful bacteria, and opportunistic bacteria. The positive ratio is beneficial bacteria 2, harmful bacteria 1, and the opportunistic bacteria 7. Opportunistic bacteria go either way. If the beneficial bacteria becomes dominant, they follow the beneficial bacteria. But if the harmful bacteria becomes dominant, they follow the harmful one. So to keep this ratio is important. And this ratio changes constantly depending on what you eat. If you eat a lot of fiber, for example, you're feeding beneficial bacteria. But if you eat a lot of sugary food, then you're feeding harmful bacteria. Therefore, in order to change the composition, you need gut reset. Especially if you have a diet like that, you need to reset your gut constantly. But for people over 50, even though your diet is relatively fine, you still need to reset your gut on a regular basis. Okay, why gut reset is critical for 50s plus? Stanford study led by Dr. Michael Snyder that I shared with you before, humans age dramatically in two births at 44, then 60. According to the study, when people reach their early 60s, they experience significant molecular changes that affect several key bodily functions. The population of bifidobacteria in the gut tends to decrease. This decline is often accompanied by an increase in less beneficial or even potentially harmful bacteria. So it usually happens somewhere around 60, but it depends on individual. I mean, sometimes it can happen from the mid-50s, so on. So in your 50s, you need to be preparing for this. Then, how do you reset the gut? Of course, through your diet. What you eat affects your gut microbiome, but not just through diet. Remember, the microbial changes undergo significantly during a fasted state. So key is to be in the fasted state. So even though you are eating a lot of great food for your gut microbiome, if you're constantly on a fed state and you don't have this gut resetting opportunity, it is critical to be in the fasted state. So fasting and gut reset. You want to practice fasting in order to reset your gut. But fasting quality is important. In other words, things you do around your fast is the key. So first, evening routine for the optimal gut reset. Okay, so let's look at the centurions in Kyotango. What do they do? So usually they have dinner 3 to 4 hours before bed. I think they finish dinner somewhere around 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., just like a regular time that people in Japan finish dinner. Not very early compared to other blue zones, because I think many of the centurions in the so-called blue zone, they finish dinner early, like maybe around 6 o'clock, so slightly later, but they do finish at least 3 to 4 hours before bed, and that is important. So you want to align sleep and the fasted state as closely as possible. So sleeping is another time this gut microbial change occur, but it happens during your fasted state. In other words, you don't want to be in a fed state when you're sleeping. If you eat just 30 minutes before bed, that means you are still in a fed state. And majority of your sleeping time is in a fed state. You don't want that to happen. Therefore, you want to eat dinner as early as possible to make sure that at least the half of your sleeping hours are in a fasted state. And the centurions or the Japanese people in general always have a bath at night. And this supports the process tremendously. So the core body temperature drop. A warm bath or soak causes your core body temperature to rise. When you exit the bath, your body rapidly cools down. This drop in temperature is a potent biological signal that triggers the brain to initiate sleep. And deep sleep, low stress, the result is often deeper, higher quality sleep. Since stress, cortisol, and poor sleep are major known destroyers of the gut barrier and beneficial microbes, achieving deep, low stress rest is one of the most powerful things you can do for your microbiome. Gut support. By maximizing restorative sleep, the bath indirectly supports the gut, ensuring the microbes can efficiently enter their rest and repair phase during the 12-hour fast. Okay, so what about the morning routine? Whether to exercise in the morning before breakfast. So, do you exercise in the morning before breakfast? If you do, please write your situation in the comment section below. Now, the timing of exercising is important, and the morning is one of the best timing. But also, early evening is a good timing too, before dinner, like somewhere around 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. So, either to exercise in the morning or early evenings are recommended. But what about this gut resetting point of view? Well, the centenarians usually work in their garden in the morning. That is the first thing they do after waking up. They usually go to their garden and work for 1 hour or so, and then they come back and they have breakfast. Exercising during your fast accelerates the fasting process. You can achieve the metabolic state of a longer fast in a shorter amount of time. By exercising just before you break your fast, you're rapidly burning off the remaining glycogen. The external depletion forces your body to hit the metabolic switch sooner. Also, if you exercise outdoor, you can have the morning sunlight exposure that can align yourself with a circadian rhythm, and that will support your sleep at night. Therefore, you want to exercise in the morning before breakfast to optimize your gut reset. What kind of exercise is good? Well, moderate intensity exercise that leaves you slightly breathless can increase butyrate producing bacteria, which is longevity bacteria abundant in the gut of the centenarians in Kyotango, and this bacteria is critical for your gut health. Therefore, you want to do this kind of exercise. So what does it mean? Exercise that leaves you slightly breathless? I think they're talking about zone 2 intensity. You can have a conversation, but it's kind of difficult to have a conversation. You'd rather not to talk, but still it is possible to have a conversation, that level of intensity. And it is recommended to do 30 minutes to 60 minutes 3 times a week. I usually do a 45 minutes of zone 2 jogging 3 times a week. Well, actually, what I call the Japanese jogging technique, which is even more optimal than regular zone 2 jogging. For details, please watch this video. This Japanese jogging technique will make you 10 years younger. This is the most optimal morning exercise I have come up with after considering all those factors, including the cardio benefit, gut resetting benefit, your muscle health, and your bone health. So please watch the video for details. I put the link below in the description box. And what to drink before breakfast? I usually drink a glass of water after waking up. So this is before I exercise. First thing I do is I take a cold shower, then I drink a glass of water, and then I do the morning exercise outdoor. And after coming back, I usually drink either green tea or black coffee. They induce autophagy, and you want to drink it before breakfast. Now, there are many nutrients that can activate autophagy in certain foods, but the idea is you want to do that while you are fasted. You don't want to do it on a fed state. And many of the foods, by eating the food, you are in a fed state, so it does not work as well as those non-caloric drinks. So matcha or regular green tea or coffee are the perfect way to induce autophagy during your fasted state. In my case, I usually drink black coffee about 45 minutes before breakfast. Okay, then what to eat for breakfast to optimize gut reset? Now, many people talk about protein. It is critical to have protein for your breakfast because after the long absence from eating, your protein is deficient. Therefore, you want to add your protein in the morning. And I think steaks and eggs are popular for this reason. But actually, not only protein, any missing nutrient, whether it is calcium, vitamins, other minerals, or whatever is missing, you need to add in the morning. And what is important in terms of the gut reset is fiber. You need to have fiber in the morning because many of the beneficial bacteria hungry in the morning after long absence from eating. Therefore, just like you need to have protein, you need to have fiber, meaning prebiotics, so fiber, oligosaccharides, and resistant starch. The problem with steak and eggs is that they don't contain any fiber. And what is worse is, not so much about the eggs, but for the steak, that it can feed harmful bacteria. So usually sugary food and red meat can feed harmful bacteria, depending on the amount too. But if you have steak every morning, I think it can feed harmful bacteria. That is what I mean by ruining what you have just done overnight. So you are resetting your gut, but you're feeding the harmful bacteria again in the morning. That's something you don't want to do that. Instead, you want to have prebiotics and probiotics, which are in fermented food. Therefore, you want to have a lot of fiber and fermented food for your breakfast. And you want to avoid a blood sugar spike. So when you break your fast, if you eat something like that first thing in the morning, you have a blood sugar spike. That's the worst timing to eat. You can have it after lunch maybe, but not the first thing in the morning. The same thing is true about white bread. Any kind of refined carb isn't good for you. If you want to eat bread, then choose whole wheat bread. But even whole wheat bread, it is still carb. So you don't want to eat it first thing in the morning. Maybe you want to have some vegetable first and then some kind of protein dish. And then after that, you can have whole wheat bread. So the order of what you eat is important. Or you can even put olive oil on your bread because olive oil can slow down the elevation of your blood sugar. Therefore, this type of breakfast is not good for you. It's got sausages and bacons, which are processed meat. Processed meat are even worse than steak. It can feed harmful bacteria, and this type of breakfast is not good either. Refined carb and sugary food, so feeding harmful bacteria and raising your blood sugar level. And this is even worse because the combination of a sugary food and processed meat. So what you want is something like the Japanese breakfast. So Japanese breakfast that optimizes your gut reset. Usually we have a white rice, but people in Kyotango often have a brown rice. So this is a good Japanese breakfast with brown rice. So for the fiber, it has brown rice. And then this is kombu and some wakame in the miso soup. So some seaweeds, got a lot of fiber, and then some squash and other vegetables. So veggies are good for the fiber. And then natto contains a lot of fiber. And also natto is a probiotic. It's got natto bacteria, which is wonderful for your gut microbiome. And then we have a miso, that's another probiotic, and then tsukemono, another probiotic, plus salmon, which has omega-3 fatty acid that are also good for the gut health. So for the protein, got salmon, eggs, and natto. So it is a high protein meal too. However, the problem with this breakfast is it takes a lot of time to prepare. Therefore, I will introduce the Western version of gut resetting breakfast today. That is natto salad and yogurt muesli. So natto salad is very easy to make. You just make a salad and you mix natto with the salad. And if you can add hijiki, that's a seaweed, that would be great. And if you have like a jackal, which is the baby sardines, or you can add canned sardine, that is also fine too. So this breakfast contains natto and vegetables and hijiki, the seaweed. A lot of fiber and probiotics. But also, you do put vinegar and olive oil. Both of them can slow down the elevation of blood sugar level. And then this muesli contains some nuts, seeds, fruit, and oats. All contains fiber. And then yogurt. Please choose one made with bifidobacteria, because the combination of bifidobacteria and natto-bacteria can support butyrate producing bacteria, this longevity bacteria. For details, please watch this video. What happens to people over 60 if they don't eat natto and yogurt every day? But anyway, you do want to have natto and yogurt with bifidobacteria for your breakfast to optimize this gut reset. Therefore, this is a perfect combination and it is easy to prepare. Okay, so what about dinner then? Dinner is very important too, because this is the last meal before you fast. What you eat affects the quality of your fast. Now, this time, you want to pay attention to autophagy activation, cellular recycling mechanism. But this is something I'll talk about in the next video. Now, for the details of the evening routine and the morning routine, the timing of drinking coffee and breakfast and everything, please read chapter 9, my 80% optimal biohacking routine in Live Wiser, Not Smarter. Okay, summary. What is important isn't just how long you fast, but what you do around your fast. Have dinner as early as possible. Practice heat exposure at night, either having a bath or sauna. Exercise in the morning, such as zone 2 cardio. Drink black coffee or green tea before your breakfast to further activate autophagy. Have protein, prebiotics, and probiotics for breakfast. For carbs, eat whole grains. And in this order, first vegetable, then protein dish, and finally a carb dish. And have this for breakfast, natto salad and yogurt muesli. If you can make soy yogurt. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Again, my name is Sachiaki Takamiya, the author of Live Wiser, Not Smarter. If you like this video, please give me your thumb up and subscribe to my channel. And please leave your comment. What do you do around your fast? Now, you may be wondering how long you should fast and how often you should fast. For details, I talked about this in my last video, which is this one.